Hey, Miami Vineyard, so good to be with you today, and so good to be with those of you joining us online, wherever you're joining us from, whatever city, state, or country. Can we welcome in our online Vineyard family? Come on, let's hear it for them. So my name is Kevin. I'm one of the pastors, and I wonder if you ever had this experience where you're waiting in a drive-through line, maybe, say, Starbucks, for example, and you just placed your order for the pumpkin spice latte, PSL. And you get up to the window to pay, and when you get to the window to pay, the person says, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's already been paid for." The person in front of you already paid for your order. Has anybody ever had that happen to you in the drive-through line? Anytime, any place? Yeah. It's an incredible experience. If you're joining us online right now and you had that happen, just put Gloria a Dios in the chat. It's like, wow. Man, you feel like that's so great. Somebody paid for this, and now you're going, "Oh, yeah, so I gotta pay it forward to somebody else." So you say, okay, look, I'll pay for the order behind me. And they say, "That'll be $48. You go, "What?" They ordered for the whole office. How did you know? This weekend, we're kicking off a brand new series called Pay It Forward. And here's the big idea. If you think about our lives, whether you've been to church before or not, if you think about our lives, we have been so blessed by God. Come on, somebody. We've been so blessed by God. We've been so blessed by God. Just think about our lives, every aspect of our lives. We woke up this morning. Our heart is beating and our lungs are breathing. It's a blessing from God. The car you got here in today, it's a blessing from God. The job you have right now is a blessing from God. You're going, "Not my job, PK. My job comes straight from hell." Okay, all right. The friends we have, the relationships we have, a church like this, it's all a blessing from God. It's all a blessing from God. Everything we have is a gift from God. And it's not just resource blessings. Think about the relationship with God himself. The fact that God sees us, that he loves us, that he's interested in us, that he's involved in our lives, that he's forgiven us, that he's restored us, that he's redeemed us, that we can be in a relationship with the living God. It's a blessing from God. It's a blessing from God. And so this weekend, as we begin this series, I'm going to look at a really cool story in the Bible. In fact, one of my favorite stories in the entire Bible we're going to be looking at today. About this idea about God blessing us. That God blesses us in ways that are way beyond our wildest dreams. And blesses us in ways that we don't even deserve. And once we grasp how much God blesses us, we can't help but want to give it away and pay it forward. So I'd love for you to do something with me as we get started today. I'd love for you to locate some message notes. Message notes are all virtual. You find them in our Miami Vineyard app. So if you don't have the app downloaded yet, go to your app store, search Miami Vineyard. In the room today, you can scan this QR code in the seat back in front of you. You can download the app. It's a free download. Once you get our app downloaded, then tap on This Weekend Message Notes. This Weekend Message Notes, both in English and Espanol. And if you want to get a hard copy of the notes, you can find one of these copies at any of the back tables, and you can take notes on this. This is just to give you some Bible verses and ways to track with me today. So, let me set the scene for you for this story in the Bible where this takes place. We're going back about 3,000 years. The nation of Israel is at war again, and they're fighting their archenemy called the Philistines. And on this particular occasion, this day, they're losing. They're losing the war. They're losing it badly. Kind of like the Miami Dolphins without Tua. Okay, they're just losing badly. But on this day, the nation of Israel is going to lose its king, King Saul, and is going to lose the king's son, Jonathan. Both Saul and Jonathan, the king and the king's son, both die in battle on this day. And so we pick up the story. Part of the story in 2 Samuel chapter 4. By the way, we're looking at 2 Samuel today. That's where you find this story. So, Saul's son, Jonathan, had a son named Mephibosheth, who was crippled as a child. He was 5 years old when the report came from Jezreel that Saul and Jonathan had been killed in battle. So that's what I just said. The report came back to the palace that the king and the king's son, the royal family, were both killed in battle. When the child's nurse heard the news, the nanny heard the news, she picked him up and fled. But she hurried away. As she hurried away, she dropped him, and he became crippled. This is the story today of this child named Mephibosheth. Now, Mephibosheth is an interesting name, so we're just going to call him Seth as we work our way through this today. But I want you to realize what's happening here. So just think in your mind Game of Thrones. Think in your mind back to that time. And Seth is like Bran Stark. And so the entire first family has been assassinated. The king dies. The son dies. And so when the news hits the palace that the first family has been assassinated, pandemonium sets in because everybody knows there's going to be a battle for who's going to become the king, the next king. And everybody knows when it changes who becomes king, the royal family, those who are part of the royal family, generally all get killed because they don't want any uprisings. And so the nanny knows this is happening. So she grabs the grandson who's been crippled. She grabs the grandson and she runs and she takes off and she wants to save his life. And somehow as she takes off, she drops him. Now I wonder, how many parents do we have in the house today? Parents, can I see your hands? Parents. Okay, I'm a parent as well. Let me ask you, parents, have you ever dropped any of your kids? Okay, come on, true confession. Did you drop any of your kids? Okay, I see those hands, If you're with us online right now and you dropped your child, just put DC up in the chat. Okay. My wife tells me it can be very dramatic when you drop a child. Now, I've never dropped them, but she has. And so somehow in the midst of this, the nanny is just, you can imagine the pandemonium that sets in. Everybody is freaking out. They're running, they're screaming, the news comes, they know they got it. And the nanny's trying to save the life of this grandson so he doesn't die, get killed, get the head chopped off. And she runs and she's carrying him and somehow she falls and he falls. And as he falls, I don't know if he got trampled, the Bible doesn't say, but somehow he fell in such a way that his legs and his feet and his ankles became crushed in such a way that he became crippled from that point on for the rest of his life. And so I find it so interesting that there's that part of the story that I just read to you. And then there's nothing about this Mephibosheth, Seth's life for the next 20 years. We don't know anything about him. All we know is that he's had this traumatic experience. He's crippled. And you can imagine the pain and the isolation that he's feeling because he's in hiding. He don't want anybody to find him. 20 years, he's in pain. He's in isolation. You know, I wonder how many of us in this room can relate to some of this. Seth's life. I mean, all of us in this room, we've experienced pain to some degree. We know what that feels like, whether we've been crippled or not. We know what this feels like. We know regret. We know, I mean, just think of this life. This guy, he's 5 years old. He's a healthy kid running around the palace playing. And in one day, his whole life changes forever. I mean, I wonder how many times over those 20 years of his life he just wishes he could have a do-over. If he just wishes that day never had happened. I mean, you can just imagine. And how many of us at some point wish we could have a do-over? We wish that particular event never happened, that particular day never happened. I mean, we know what it's like to have our dreams stripped away. We know what it feels like to be hurt and damaged and betrayed. In fact, if you're taking notes today, here we go. Here's the first thing I want you to take down. If you're taking notes today, I want to give you 4 truths about us. From the 4 truths that we can learn about us. Here's the first truth. We are more broken than we think. We are more broken than we think. Oh, your legs may not be broken, but your soul is. Your feet, your ankles may not be broken, but your spirit is, or at least it was. In fact, it's the condition of every person on planet Earth. Notice what the Bible says in this next verse, Ephesians 2:1. It says, in the past, you were spiritually dead because of your disobedience and sins. In this verse, it goes beyond calling us broken to calling us dead. And that's what we are apart from Christ. We are dead. Some of you know what I'm talking about. You remember your life before you said yes to Jesus. You remember your life. You were dead spiritually. You were dead. You were broken. You had meaning. You didn't have purpose. You had no reason to live. Your life was a mess. But then you experienced the joy and the life that Jesus Christ offers. I had a conversation with somebody 2 weeks ago out there in that big hallway. And walked in, shook my hand, walked right past me, and he turned around. And he made a beeline. He came back to me. He said, look, he said, I've been coming here for 10 years. He said, I know, we don't really know each other, but I've been coming here for 10 years. And I walk in, I shake her hand. He said, but I just want you to know, Pastor Kevin, the difference this church has made in my life in the past 10 years. He said, I just thought about this. He said, this guy was probably in his 50s, just guessing. And he said, if I could never have imagined myself as someone who'd be going to church. He said, it's just beyond my wildest dreams. He said, the way my life was then and the way my life is now, he said, Pastor Kevin, everything has changed. And he said, I just so grateful for you and so grateful for this church. Come on, somebody. What a story. What a story. Now look, can I just say that this church didn't change his life, Jesus Christ did. Jesus Christ did. Pastor Kevin didn't change his life, Jesus Christ did. Because that's what Jesus Christ does. He changes lives. And so many of you in this place, so many of you joining us online, you know the presence and the power that Jesus Christ brings. And so, let's get back to our story. So after Saul's death, David becomes king. Now David, even if you've never opened a Bible before, you've probably heard of David. This is the same David who defeated Goliath, the giant Goliath. This is that David. So David becomes king. And when David was growing up in the nation of Israel, David and Jonathan were best buds. They were tight. I mean, they hung out all the time together, teenagers, growing up. They hung out all the time. So David and Jonathan were close friends. And David was a valiant warrior. David was a tremendous warrior. In fact, they defeated those Philistines, and they defeated those Philistines so soundly and defeated all the other enemies around them so soundly that there was peace and prosperity in the nation of Israel, and David was king. And I can just imagine one day David walking around the palace. But we've all been here. We've all been walking around our palace, right? Yeah. My 2,000 square foot house in Cutler Bay, walking around the palace. We have these moments when we just, like we're not, maybe in the shower, maybe out for a run, maybe out for a walk. I mean, you're not just thinking about anything, but all of a sudden a name pops into your mind. You haven't thought about this person in forever, maybe from high school or college or whatever, and a name pops into your mind, and you think to yourself, I wonder what's going on with that person. And maybe you try to, if you do a little homework, maybe you try to look them up on Facebook or Instagram or try and track them down in some way, just to wonder what's up with that person. Well, David had that experience. He's walking around his palace one day, and he found somebody on Facebook. No, I'm just kidding. This is 3,000 years ago. Somebody get that tomorrow. Anyway, so he's walking around. David had this experience. All of a sudden he thinks about something. He remembered about him and Jonathan when he was a teenager. And David was thinking about this. He remembered a conversation he had when him and Jonathan were teenagers. And they said this to each other. They made a promise to each other back when they were teenagers. And they said this: if anything ever happens to your family or my family, that we will take care of the other person's family. They made this when they were teens. And David remembered this. And he runs back into the palace because he remembered this promise he made to Jonathan. And he runs back, and we pick it up in verse 1 of chapter 9 of 2 Samuel. He said, is anyone in Saul's family still alive? You remember this promise? Anyone to whom I can still show kindness for Jonathan's sake. And there's a guy in the palace whose name is Ziba. And Ziba says, David, there is one person who survived. But David, he's crippled in both feet. And what's interesting to me is David doesn't ask the question, is there anybody still alive who's deserving? Is there anybody still alive that has political power? Is there anybody still alive with some military experience? Is there anybody still alive that has some influence? Maybe they got 1 million followers on TikTok. Anybody still alive? He said he doesn't look for anybody who can offer him anything. He just says, is there anyone still alive? Is there anyone? And Ziba says, David, there actually is somebody. But David, you don't want him. He's crippled in both feet. You can almost hear what he's saying. David, there is somebody. But you don't want this guy. He's messed up. He's probably traumatized from having that experience of being dropped at 5. David, he doesn't fit in. David, he's got some physical challenges. David, he's got some issues. David, he can't even walk right. He's a cripple. And again, perhaps some of you are relating to this today. You might not be disabled physically, but you might have a label placed on you. And no matter what you do, it keeps following you around. Some of you, you've had an affair, and it just keeps following you around. No matter what you do, you can't seem to get rid of that label. Some of you went through a divorce. Same thing. It just follows you around, follows you around. Some of you have been through an addiction of some kind. And you're not in that right now, but it's followed you around. It's followed you around everywhere you go. That follows you around. Some of you might have gone through 6 months, a year, maybe more of depression, or maybe some other mental health issue. And you're not there anymore, but it keeps following you around. It attaches itself like a label to you. Some of you know what that feels like. That's kind of where Mephibosheth is. It just attaches yourself to it. But David doesn't care. David doesn't care. David says, go get him. And here's number 2, if you're taking notes. 4 truths about us. We are more pursued than we think. We are more pursued than we think. Because in the same way that David is pursuing Seth, is the same way that God pursues you and me. And it's not just this story, it's cover to cover in the Bible. I think back to Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, first man, first woman in the garden. They messed up. They ate from the tree God told them not to eat from. They sinned against God, disobeyed God. And God went looking for them. Not so he could punish. Yes, they were punished. And yes, he held them accountable. But God went looking for them for one reason, so he could redeem, so he could restore, and so he could bless them. That's why God went looking for them. I think about Moses. Moses was, something in the Bible, he committed murder. But God went looking for and found Moses. Why? So he could redeem, so he could restore, so he could bless him. I mean, that's the nature of God, wants to redeem, restore, and bless. I think about Peter. Some of you heard of Peter. This is that Peter, all the jokes about St. Pete going to heaven. This is that same Peter guy. Peter was tight with Jesus. He was on Jesus' inner circle. Jesus had 3 tight friends. And Peter was one of those. And when Jesus was being crucified, the night before he was on trial, and Peter was there with him. And Peter was afraid that, shoot, if they put him on trial, they might put me on trial too. So people asked him, aren't you a friend of Jesus? Don't you know Jesus? And he denied he knew Jesus, even knew him 3 times. And Peter, after realizing what he did, he was devastated, just devastated. But Jesus went and found Peter. Why? So he could forgive, restore, redeem, and bless. That's the heart of God. Forgive, restore, redeem, and bless. Forgive, restore, redeem, and bless. Forgive, restore, redeem, and bless. It's the heart of God. It's the heart of God. It's that you are pursued. Look at this. Long before, Ephesians 1, long before he laid down earth's foundations, God had us in mind. He had settled on us as the focus of his love, to be made whole and holy by his love. Long, long ago, he decided to adopt us into his family through Jesus Christ. What pleasure he took in planning this. This is the heart of God. You are pursued more than you know. So back to our story. So David says, go get Seth. Go get him. So do you think that David sent his pastoral care team to go get him? No. David sent his military to go get him. But you understand, Seth doesn't want to be found. He's been in hiding for 20 years because he knows when the new king comes in, my head's going to be gone. He's been hiding out someplace, trying to stay hidden for 20 years. And all of a sudden, he's found and located. So David sends his men to go get him. And bring him back to the palace. I wonder what kind of emotions are going through Seth's mind in this. It's a 75-mile journey from where he was to the palace. And I don't know if he's on horseback, I don't know if he's in a carriage or whatever it is, but he's got 75 miles of this to think about this. Can you just imagine if 20 years have gone by and he got dropped at 5, let's see, he's 25. Imagine the fear, the panic, the uncertainty that's going on in this guy's mind. Potentially feeling this could be his last day alive on planet Earth. So, as you might imagine, as you and I would do, he begins to make a plan in his mind. He's going, okay, they found me, they got me. So he starts making a plan in his mind. What am I going to say to David, the king? What am I going to say? And so he starts coming up with this plan. He's going, well, first of all, he's probably thinking about, look at me. I'm crippled. I'm no threat to him. So he can't be, I won't be intimidating to him. I'm no threat to him. I can't even walk. So Seth says, I know what I'll do. I'm just going to fall on my face before him, and I'm going to ask him to spare my life. Have mercy on me. So the chariot pulls up in front of the palace. The soldiers carry Seth because he can't walk. They set him down in front of David. And David enters the room. We pick up the story in 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 6. It says this. When Seth came to David, he bowed low to the ground in deep respect. So here's his plan. It's part of his plan. But verse 7, next verse. David says, don't be afraid. I intend to show kindness to you because of my promise to your father, Jonathan. Now pause there for a moment, because this is exactly opposite of what Seth thought was going to happen. I mean, these words, he heard them, but he didn't really hear them. I mean, he's still thinking in his mind, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And David says, hey, you're not going to die. He says, I intend to show kindness to you on behalf of your father. And so Seth is just reeling with this. He understands he's a cripple. He understands he's part of the previous regime. He understands he's supposed to die. He understands I've got nothing to offer to David. And think about this. This is exactly where we are before God. We've got nothing to offer God. We've got nothing. But yet God, in his love, he pursues us and he finds us and he blesses us. We are so blessed because of God. That's what God does to us. Exact same thing. We are so blessed. See, what I want you to get, it is God's character. David, in this way, is an archetype of God. It's God's character to be kind and loving and forgiving and blessing to us as his people. And generous. That's God's character. It's who he is. But again, this is not at all what Seth is thinking in this moment. And look what this says. This is this number 3, if you're taking notes. Look what it says. We are more loved than we think. We are more loved than we think. But I love what Seth says here. If we go back to that verse 8, I love what Seth says. Because David says this to him. He says, I intend to show you kindness. And Seth says, who am I that you pay attention to a stray dog like me? I mean, that's you might want to put stray cat, but whatever your language is there you want to use. He says, who am I that you pay attention to a stray dog like me? And again, that's who is God that he would pay attention to us in this kind of way? We are more loved than we think. Now, This story could end right here. This would be an amazing story. If it ended right here, it'd be an incredible story. But wait, there's more. The story doesn't quite end right here. Because I want you to go back and see what it says. Look what it says in the next verse. It says, David says to Seth, this has got to just absolutely blow his mind. I'm going to give you all the property that once belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will eat here with me at the king's table. He's just got to go, poof. Like, what is happening here? I mean, let's remember, 20 years ago, this is the same guy that was dropped as a baby at age 5. Went through a terrible tragedy of losing his family, being crippled and hurt, living as an exile, hiding out, hoping never to be discovered. He's hopeless. He's in despair. He thinks he's going to die. And the king says to him, I want you to eat at my table. Are you kidding me? He's got to be thinking there's somebody filming it off to the side as a joke and could put it on TikTok later. He's got to be thinking, this cannot be happening. This is too good to be true. And David says, I want you to eat at my table like one of my sons. David could have said, listen, Seth, I'm going to give you, I want to have some mercy, and you can come to the palace when you feel like it, and just spend time here if you want, or when we have our national celebrations, you can come and sit in the luxury suite with us, with the royal family. But he said, no, I'm doing more than that. He says, we are going to set a place at the table every day for you because, Seth, you are now part of the family. That's what God does. That's what God does. That's what God does. And that's what God does to you and I. God says, no. You don't have to just come to me on high holy days. God says, you can come to me every second of every single day because I have a place set for you at my table. And this goes to number 4. If you're taking notes today, we are more blessed than we think. We are more blessed than we think. We are more blessed than we think. So, Pastor Kevin, what do we do with all this? Like, this is a great story, one of my favorite stories in the Bible. But what do we do with all this? I got 3 words for you. You ready? Pay it forward. Pay it forward. Just what God has done for us, in all the ways that God has blessed us, let's bless somebody else. Let's pay it forward. Because when God blesses, God doesn't bless us just so we can sit on it. Never. God blesses. Oh, yeah, God blesses all the time. Many of us experience the blessings of God. But God never blesses us just to sit on it. God blesses us so we can be a blessing to somebody else. And I want to encourage you to pay it forward. In all the different ways that God has blessed us, let's be a blessing to somebody else. The title of this weekend's message is Blessed to Bless. Blessed to Bless. Let's pay it forward. So would you pray with me today? Would you take a moment? Would you bow your heads and pray with me as we wrap this up in a prayer today? God, I thank you for your blessings, God, in our lives. God, in so many ways, you have blessed us. But God, that line in the story where Seth says, who am I that you should pay attention to a stray dog like me? God, and who are any of us that you should pay attention to us? God, with all the stuff we've done and all of our past and all of our shortcomings and all of our labels and God, and all the stuff in our life, God, who are you that you should pay attention to us? But God, that's exactly who you are. It's your nature. It's your character. It's who you are, God. To not only pay attention, but to redeem, to restore, and to bless. To redeem, to restore, and to bless. God, I thank you for what you're doing in our hearts and our lives. God, that you love us, but you love us too much to let us stay the way you found us. God, you redeem, you restore, and you bless. So then, God, we can be a blessing to others. God, thank you for loving us. Thank you that you change lives. And listen, if you're here today, and there's never been a time in your life where you have opened it up to God, you said, God, I want to be at your table. I want to sit at that table. Then today, perhaps today could be this day where you open up your life and you say yes to God in this kind of a way. So listen, I'm going to pray a prayer out loud. And you just pray it inside. Just pray it inside as I pray. So God, I want to say yes to you today. I want to open up my life to your love. God, to your blessings. God, and God, I don't deserve it. And God, I don't know how you do this. But God, I want a seat at your table. God, would you redeem me? Would you restore me? And God, I want a seat at that table. God, I want to be in a relationship with you in this kind of a way. God, today I open up my mind, I open up my heart, I open up my soul, I open up my spirit, my life to you. And God, I thank you for what you're doing in our hearts and lives today. And I pray all these things in Jesus' name.